Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going way, way back, about 4,500 years. But we're not here to talk about an ark or a dove. No, we're on the hunt for a much older, much stranger kind of loss, one that's been hiding in plain sight, baked right into ancient clay.
We all think we know the story of the Great Flood, right? Big boat, animals two by two, the whole deal. But what if the most important part of that story has absolutely nothing to do with the water? What if the real tragedy, the loss they were truly grieving, happened long before a single drop of rain ever fell?
Our whole journey kicks off right here, not on some vast mythical ocean, but in the Penn Museum, with a broken piece of clay. It was dug up from the ruins of the Sumerian city of Nippur, and trust me, it's holding a pretty big secret in its cracks.
Okay, so this is the Nippur Flood Tablet. It's the oldest Sumerian version of the flood story that we've ever found. Now, as you can see, most of it's gone. Two-thirds of it just isn't there. But the part that survives tells a familiar tale. Creation, the first cities, the gods getting angry and deciding to wipe the slate clean. But here's the thing. The key isn't the guy who builds the boat. The real clue is in this surviving lower third, which describes in detail the organized world that existed before the water. That's where the real story is. You see, the Sumerian texts don't just describe a world before the flood. They paint a picture of a reality that was playing by a completely different set of rules. In this before time, knowledge wasn't something humans had to struggle and fight for. It was a gift, transmitted directly from these incredible beings called the Apkallu. I mean, just imagine it. Part fish, part man demigods who literally emerge from a cosmic ocean to teach humanity everything: writing, math, how to build temples. Knowledge wasn't discovered, it was received. It was basically downloaded. And this was the structure of that lost world. It was a place of perfect top-down order. Kingship wasn't earned. It literally descended from the heavens. The gods themselves founded the first secret cities. And get this, each king was paired with a divine Apkallu advisor, a consultant making sure the grand plans of the cosmos were being perfectly executed right here on Earth. It was a civilization with a direct, open line to the divine. And then, according to every single text we have, that perfect connection wasn't just weakened, it was catastrophically and permanently severed. This line from the Sumerian king list might just be one of the quietest but most devastating sentences in all of ancient literature. There's no drama, no exclamation points. It's just a simple, blunt statement of fact that marks the dividing line between two completely different worlds. There was a before, and then there was an after. And the sheer scale of this collapse is just staggering. Take a look at these numbers from that same king list. Before the flood, you have kings listed as reigning for tens of thousands of years. After the flood, a few hundred, if they were lucky. This tells us that for the Sumerians, this wasn't just a storm that washed away a few cities. This was an event that fundamentally reset the laws of reality itself, right down to human lifespan. And this right here, this comparison, really nails down the true loss. Before the flood, you had the Apkallu, divine beings, a direct pipeline to cosmic knowledge. After the flood, all you had were the Umanu, human scholars. They were just students of students of students, forever separated from the original source. So the real grief, the real tragedy, wasn't for the lost buildings. It was for this lost connection, this unbridgeable chasm that now separated them from the source of all knowledge. But there's another text, one that's even older than the Flood Tablet, that gives us this unbelievably intimate voice from right before everything changed. This is one of the oldest surviving pieces of literature on the entire planet. It's called The Instructions of Shuruppak, and it's supposedly the last words of advice from the very last king of the Old World, speaking to his son, Ziusudra, who you might know as the Sumerian Noah, the guy who's about to build the boat. These are meant to be the final words of wisdom from the Old World passed on to the New. So what do you think he says standing on the brink of the apocalypse? What wisdom does he impart? Well, there are no grand prophecies, no cosmic warnings. His advice is startlingly practical. Don't steal. Don't commit adultery. He says, be kind to your mother. Listen to your elders. It's so deeply, fragilely human. This isn't advice on how to survive the end of the world. It's advice on how to live well, how to be a good person in the smaller, messier, more human-scaled world that was about to come after. So this all leads to the huge question, right? Is this just a beautiful, poignant myth, Or is it a distorted memory of something that actually went down?
Well, the evidence is pretty tantalizing. On one hand, archaeologists at Shurapak literally found a 2-foot-thick layer of flood-deposited clay from exactly the right time period. And we also know that some oral traditions can preserve accurate memories of geological events for thousands of years. But, on the other hand, a lot of scholars are skeptical. They argue it was probably just a massive local river flood, not a global catastrophe, and that the king lists were really just political propaganda invented later to make rulers seem more legitimate. But, maybe it doesn't even matter if the flood literally happened on a global scale. What is absolutely certain is that for 2,000 years, an entire civilization built its whole identity around the memory of this rupture. They believed with every fiber of their being that they were living in the aftermath of a great loss, and that belief shaped everything about their world. And this feeling of living in the aftermath, is captured perfectly by this one haunting phrase that pops up again and again in these ancient texts. The Sumerian scribes who copied these stories for over 1,000 years, they always started them this way. It was their way of pointing back across the water, back across that uncrossable threshold, to a time they knew was fundamentally different and was gone forever. They didn't see themselves as innovators, not really. They saw themselves as careful custodians. Their whole job was to preserve the faint echo of a time when knowledge was direct, when the connection to the divine was pure. They were preserving the memory of what it felt like to be taught. And this is the part where a 4,500-year-old story suddenly turns around and looks directly at us. That phrase points to the past, for sure, but the feeling it creates, well, it asks a profound question about our own present moment. Are we living on the edge of our own kind of threshold? And will some future civilization, thousands of years from now, look back at our time and grieve for a type of connection, a kind of knowledge, a way of being that we will be the water that swept everything away?